Does the liberal arts have a future in the 21st century? Don't students want to go to receive training to prepare them for work immediately after they receive their degrees? I want to use that question as the basis for reflecting on a series of 4 refounding moments in Dartmouth's 250-year history. I'm going to begin with 1819, when the Dartmouth College case made it possible for Dartmouth to survive the 19th century. I'm going to turn to William Jewett Tucker's presidency from 1892 to 1909, when Dartmouth had to confront becoming a world-class university in the 20th century. I'm going to move to 1969, when Dartmouth had to transform its entire self-representation in order to become a world-class institution, the prelude to the 21st century. And I'm going to conclude with what we're doing today, where these living bridges have reflected an image for Dartmouth that is an example for liberal arts universities in the 21st century. 1819, New Hampshire takes away Dartmouth's charter, says it's null and void because it was made with King George III, and education is a public good that should not be permitted being the venue of a private college. Daniel Webster, class of 1801, emerged to defend Dartmouth against the state of New Hampshire, which had named Dartmouth University. When Webster explained what gave him the force to persuade Chief Justice Marshall of the Supreme Court to decide in Dartmouth's favor, he said it was his training at Dartmouth, and specifically the work of Caleb Bingham, Dartmouth class of 1787, written an incredible book of rhetoric called the Columbian Orator. Webster said he discovered the power of oratory as an oracle, a bridge between the greatest aspirations for liberty and union of a country and the capacity to lift the minds and imaginations of Americans to achieve that aspiration. The Columbian Orator also became the chief text for Frederick Douglass. Samson Occam, in his orations, was cited in the Columbian Orator as a preceptor for powerful oration. When Daniel Webster arrived at the moment in his Supreme Court argument in which he established the distillation of his claims, he described Dartmouth in a line that every Dartmouth student has memorized: as a small college, sir, yet there are those who love it. Then he proceeded to say that Dartmouth is one of the lesser lights in the horizon of literary institutions. But in the very act of articulating that peroration, Daniel Webster had transformed himself into perhaps the most important literary figure of the day, and by extension, Dartmouth into an institution that produced statesmen and politicians, not only of the standing of Daniel Webster and Rufus Choate and Salmon Chase and George Ticknor, but also as Kate Stith Cabranes, one of the first women to graduate under Dartmouth's aegis as a co-educational institution, was to explain at this year's celebration of the Dartmouth College case. The Dartmouth College case made it possible for private colleges of the standing of Howard and Fisk and Morehouse and Spelman, the historic black colleges, to emerge after the Civil War with the protection of their privacy secured by the Dartmouth College case. Dartmouth College was secured and guaranteed its status as a private college from 1819 till 1893, when William Jewett Tucker became president of Dartmouth. He graduated in 1862, the second year of the Civil War, a war fought to transform Daniel Webster's inspiring coda, liberty and union, one and inseparable, now and forever. Webster compromised. The Civil War turned the compromise into the realization of liberty and union. And in reflecting on the Dartmouth College case, William Jewett Tucker said, Dartmouth may have fallen in love with its image as a small college, but Dartmouth's aspiration to become one of the great liberal arts institutions in the world requires, in this case, Tucker, to transform the entire profile of the institution. He added 13 new buildings. He tripled the size of the faculty. He transformed the student body from fewer than 350 students to 1,340 students. And in order to produce a lesson in 1900, in the midst of the Gilded Age, William Jewett Tucker took the primary complaint about liberal arts institutions, that they separate useful knowledge from liberal knowledge. It's the basis for instituting Tuck Business School in order to make it clear to everyone that there is no distinction between knowledge that is useful and knowledge that is liberating. A liberal arts education trains you for nothing, but it prepares you for everything. And what constitutes the liberating aspect of a liberal arts education is its capacity to demonstrate how a use, like turning your degree into the basis for a job, can become the foundation for the discovery of a liberty. When you recognize that the job may be a livelihood, but it can be as empty and deadening as a prison sentence if it isn't associated with meaningful values that make your life feel worthy of all of the investment of your energy and passion. In the midst of the Gilded Age, he said, I want to take Dartmouth graduates who have sold their souls for profit and rededicate them to the liberal arts by getting my roommate from Dartmouth in 1862, Edward Tuck, to invest the funds needed and to establish a mission for Tuck Business School that will become the basis for the transformation of the Gilded Age's immorality into a liberating vision. Tuck said, the deepest form of egotism is altruism. Altruism is what generates the deepest wealth for a person and a country. William Jewett Tucker had transformed the small college into an institution that, in the words of Woodrow Wilson, who was president of Princeton University when Tucker stepped down, an example for every liberal arts institution in the country. Dartmouth had been decolonized from a colonial church college in the provincial backwaters of New Hampshire into a bright light in the firmament of liberal arts institutions. When John Sloan Dickey became president of Dartmouth, he returned to William Jewett Tucker career in order to distill what he understood to be the primary lesson. Tucker, he said, has made it clear that it is the mandate of every Dartmouth graduate to make the world's troubles your troubles. And he established a great issues course to demonstrate the practical benefit of every discipline in a liberal arts institution. But in 1969, a great issue came to Dartmouth. All of the African American students who'd gone to historic black colleges but may have wanted to come to Dartmouth, all of the women who had entered into the private women's colleges, the sister schools surrounding Dartmouth, all of the Asian American and Latino and Latina students who felt as if Dartmouth was still an unwelcoming space, said to Dartmouth, if you want to make the world's problems your problems, look like the world. In 1969, Dartmouth changed its profile, and it founded that transformation of profile by rededicating itself to the original charter, which acknowledged the importance of Native American students, not only to the founding of the institution, but as tutelary presences who continue to offer it guidance. In order to bring about that change in the structure of Dartmouth, John Kemeny, the inventor of BASIC, took that needed transformation and linked it with a technology. His understanding of the work that computers could serve in inventing a Dartmouth plan that would enable Dartmouth to transform itself from a white male institution in the New Hampshire wilderness into a microcosm of the world. This time it wasn't a single person. It wasn't Webster. It wasn't Tucker. It was all the students and faculty and administrators who demanded a bridge that would transform Dartmouth's aspirations from the 19th century into the reality of the 20th. Over the last 13 years, Dartmouth has been involved in transforming what could be called the ecology of the institution. It's added equality to fraternity and sorority by making the residential life at least as hospitable for the formation of bonds as the co-ed fraternity sorority system is. That was the Dartmouth moving forward stride. Second step was to turn what otherwise is non-curated fact into a distilled policy, inclusive excellence. in which Dartmouth says explicitly, it is a welcoming space for persons of every race, of every color, of every creed, of every nationality, every gender, and every ability. And most recently, it's changed the climate of the institution in order to make what this morning was described as the Manila Protocol, the structure of relationality for everyone at Dartmouth. My brother asked whether a liberal arts institution of the standing of Dartmouth could survive the 21st century. After Dartmouth has changed its ecology to become a space that's the image of what could possibly transform the ecology of the planet, I want to close by rephrasing the question. Can the humanity and the planet of the 21st century survive without liberal arts institutions of the standing and aspiration of Dartmouth College?